Good morning, Salome B here, and today I want to talk about the legalization of marijuana is a state's decision. That is what Trump has deemed to what they're going to do. They're going to allow the states to make their own policies on marijuana. Now, I'm not going to get into what they're doing. I want to get into the history lesson of why marijuana became illegal. And I'm going to show you how they did it and who they blamed it on. And we all know that it's some discrimination in it. But let's get started. Trump has allowed states to make their own laws to combat the use of marijuana. Why was marijuana made illegal? Well, stories talk about how when black men would smoke marijuana, they would hit on white women or solicit sex from white women. This is one detail of making marijuana illegal, but it's not the sole reason why marijuana became illegal. Republicans are going and revisiting the history of marijuana and how it ended up in the category of drugs deemed most dangerous by the federal government, which is Schedule 1. In the early 1900s, just after the Mexican Revolution, there was an influx of immigration from Mexico into the states like Texas and Louisiana. They brought with them their customs and culture. One of the customs was the use of cannabis as a medicine and a relaxant. It was referred to by the Mexicans as marijuana. You spell that Marihuana, and that's a foreign term. I want you to hold that in your thought because I'm going to show you what they've been doing. Americans were familiar with marijuana. It was known to the Americans as cannabis, which is Cannabis, not marijuana, Marihuana, or marijuana. Marijuana, y'all know how to spell that. It's Marijuana. Now we have three words that denote marijuana. Cannabis was present in almost all tinctures and medicines available in the U.S. So Americans in the 1900s knew about cannabis because it was in everything. They didn't know the word marijuana or marijuana. The medicine started to the media started to campaign and play on the fears of the public had about disruptive Mexicans. This is where the dislike of Mexicans and their presence here came from, pertaining to Donald Trump and politicians his age or older white people his age. The laws were always geared towards a certain race who they thought were unorganized or disruptive. The rest of the nation was unaware that cannabis, aka marijuana, was a plant that they already had in their medicine cabinets. Okay? Politicians attacked cannabis plants in order to attack Mexican immigrants, in order to control Mexican immigrants. For example, Texas borrowed a play from Francisco Playbook, which outlawed opium to control Chinese immigrants. The idea was an excuse to search, detain, and deport Chinese immigrants. So this is what they're doing to the Mexicans. They're using marijuana to deport Mexican immigrants, and the excuse was marijuana. And that's Marijuana. Marijuana is a American word that politicians came up with. They changed the H and they put a J there. And they called it marijuana. And then this is how they start to build the law around the word. So their method of revisiting marijuana, the Republicans, is to control people by controlling their customs. Was successful. This became a national strategy. So this is the strategy that the United States had used to control Mexican immigrants and blacks that were actually smoking marijuana or cannabis, whichever you want to call it. Marijuana is a foreign term. It's a Mexican term, and that's the correct term for it because it's a plant. And it's a medicine and it's a relaxant. It's just like a depressant. Like if you're taking depressants for depression, if you smoke some marijuana, it would do the same thing. It will relax you. If you have anxiety, it will relax you. Now, blacks included in controlling during the hearing on marijuana claims were made about marijuana ability to cause men of color to become violent and solicit sex from white women. This led to the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. And this banned the use and sales. This was ruled unconstitutional. They replaced it with the Controlled Substance Act of 1970. So what they did was they used black people, as they do, as a gopher to label why they outlaw things. And it really had nothing to do with black people because marijuana was already here in the States as cannabis. It was already here. The Mexicans was bringing their customs with them, which included smoking marijuana. And they wanted to get rid of the blacks and the Mexicans because we do know that there are some Afro-Latinos in Mexico. So they wanted to group us all in one thing, make up a law, and this is where the immigration comes in. This is why Republicans are revisiting marijuana usage and the laws because it has something to do with Mexicans. And right now, they are deporting illegals that have been here. And this is why they're revisiting the marijuana, because the marijuana has something to do with controlling immigration, which is dealing with people's customs and culture. So this is why they're revisiting the marijuana situation. But the fact that they use blacks and Mexicans and saying that this was a part of their culture, this is what the United States has been doing. It has been controlling people by putting laws and controlling cultures or things that people do in their culture. They regulate it that way so that they can stop the immigration of large amounts of Mexicans. And this is why Trump and them also want to put some restraints on it, because now the DACA program is coming up. And for illegals to be here and get citizenship, they have to kind of be on good behavior. And this is why they're revisiting the marijuana law, because if they catch any of them while they're here on citizenship, dealing in drugs or selling of anything, that's going to be able to deport them. So this is why another reason why they're revisiting the marijuana laws. Because it's going to control the Mexican culture. Just like Texas and San Francisco used in the early 1900s, they used the Opium Act to control Chinese. Because opium is a part of the Chinese customs, the use of opium. So this is what I have on the marijuana situation. Also, marijuana has 3 words that identify it. It's marijuana. Marijuana is a Mexican foreign term, and cannabis is what the United States was calling it when they were putting it in everything from meds to money to everything in the 1900s. They outlawed all of it, and Americans didn't even know that they were using it. So that's kind of strange with this marijuana history. But it is a mechanism to control foreign citizens. Just like it was a mechanism to control Chinese and deport Chinese people out of here who had opium on them. And now that it's a Schedule I drug, they use that to hide it over there. And now they're saying that if you have a prescription for it, see, when they put it under Schedule I, under the Controlled Substance Act, that Schedule I controlled substance, that's dealing with the FDA, because now only pharmaceuticals and doctors can prescribe opium. And if you're caught with little amounts of marijuana, they ask you, do you have a prescription? So now it's only allowed if a doctor can give it to you. That's still unfair, because if people cannot use it, why are doctors able to prescribe opium? You used it to kick the Chinese out of here or deport Chinese people, but doctors can give out opium, and now you have an opium epidemic. The United States has always used laws to control minorities or immigrants in their cultures. Salome B. Have a nice day.